it's in the office. There used to be one in here, but then it got way late into the
There's
office.
Mr. Doucette.
Keats, do we have other copies of that blue RSA book?
I'm glad.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Do we order some every year?
I don't know.
Okay.
Wait, is that the land use one?
So I was at
some of
the
them. Good.
Good.
ZBA meeting.
We've seen,
New Hampshire Planning and Land Use
like this
Regulations.
and
We
all that.
planning
Yeah,
on
we
orders
do
and
order
everything.
one
There's a good
every
one
year.
now.
Okay.
How old?
Yeah.
And they're, and we could have ordered more, but
Thanks.
Hi, Richard. How are you? Emery, how you doing?
Shelley
Good, how are you?
orders them.
Good to the day of
They were
Thanksgiving.
talking about how it's got all the
Children's
RSAs
got
and
it's after
like
that.
explanation of what they actually mean in layman's terms.
It's
I thought.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you got it.
Who do you have tomorrow?
Josie and got Kevin and, yeah,
Yeah.
so it's fun.
How are
It's a
you?
list, yeah.
Good.
And those two are like, not
That's all right.
their
I pulled out a
personalities.
pen for you.
Okay.
Have you had that? Oh my God, he's a fireball.
I have not.
He's just, nothing but jokes and bad, but he's just.
Oh,
Whether
yeah.
your kids or my kids.
Carl's gone for 2 weeks.
I forgot. Yeah, that's
Nothing
right.
bad, that's right. Well, bubbly,
I feel-
smiley.
I feel like the little kids table on. I'm like,
You're lonely over there.
Oh,
like-
I was wrong.
I like
See?
both.
I was wrong.
I do.
That's fine.
It is,
Wow.
it
If you're
is.
curious, that's big. No, they're always exploring.
big cookie.
Yeah.
They're, well, they are for the,
Yeah.
They're good to go.
Yeah.
so if you want one.
It's
It is
fun.
fun, like, yeah, it's also fun when they leave.
Oh, yes.
Being 6 o'clock, I call the Selectmen's
6:03.
Select Board's meeting to order. 6:03, excuse me. Changes and additions to the agenda.
Yeah, accounts payable for $3,863.42, and Chief Littlefield had to postpone his budget presentation, so that is on the agenda.
Moving on to new business. We'll start with the department. Oh, no.
He would like, Sheldon has put a request in that he go first.
Okay.
Or no, keep the order, whatever.
Okay.
That's optional.
We'll flip a
Whichever.
coin.
Richard's gonna be fast.
So we're gonna start with. Sorry, Richard. We're gonna start with the
That's
planning
all right.
board with Sheldon Perry. We'll go backward.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah, I
You
thank
want
you.
me to start?
I feel a little self-centered here right
Oh,
now.
you're okay.
Well, with that, I'll stand up. So the budget is really reminiscent of last year's budget, with the exception of the large expense for the build-out analysis. And if you would like, I can certainly give you a very brief update on that after this little budget presentation. Regarding salaries, we're keeping that the same for Melissa, our clerk, at $2,700. The FICA and Medicare expenses are as needed, which were last year at $162 and $54. Engineering reviews is a pass-through, and that's our independent engineering reviews for developments that need that earth excavation things and stuff like that. So, you know, that gets charged by the engineer to the town, and then the applicant has to reimburse the town. So that's the way that goes. Legal is what we've normally kept it at. We're at $2,500. Consulting fees is $1,000. Printing is for nominal things like whatever might come up for groundwater protection or whatever at $300. Newspaper advertising, again, is sort of what might arise during the course of the year at $300. Our dues, subscription, training for board members that want to travel and get more education about what we do at $280. Office supplies, again, just a placeholder for whatever we might need at Staples at $200. Recording fees is a pass-through, $28 what we charge. The town pays $26, and we just keep that in the budget, obviously, to keep it there as a way that it exists. Postage is the same kind of thing. That's typically, in the past, it's been $10 for certified mails to all of our butters. However, we're raising that in this next year to $12 per butter because expenses for the certified mailing has gone up, and it really doesn't adequately cost the time that Melissa, our clerk, pays for that. And then finally, we bought the TV last year, so we have reduced that to around $300 just in case we need something. So if I put the math together, that totals $12,000 and $46. $12,046.
We have 11,846
Okay,
on this spreadsheet.
where did your math go?
I'd have to see
All right.
what numbers you're looking at.
Do you want me to hand it to you?
I mean, you handed me what you guys, sure, what you guys emailed me was like a Word document. So I might have gotten
Did that
one
come
of
from
them.
Ian
Yeah,
today?
yeah.
Okay.
So, but you know,
Well, just make sure there aren't any discrepancies.
let me see. So this is, let's see, where are we? Zoning, planning, 2024, oh, I see. Okay, so, it's 2,700, 162, 54, 2,500, 2,500, 1,000, 300, you have 700 for, no, you have 300, I got that, okay. 280, 200, 350, 1,200, I have, you have 300, and you have 1,400 here. So I'm off by 200.
Well, that's probably because
Yep.
1,200, it was 1,200 last year, but we changed
Now it's
that
14, okay.
at last night's meeting to,
So I'll fix it in mine.
yeah, just so yeah, the 1,400 is accurate and the 1,200 is not. Because that was changed at last night's meeting to accommodate the raising the abutters mailing list.
Okay, I'll fix it, sorry about that.
So posted,
That's under postage, yes.
so that's up to 14?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Any other questions?
Are there any questions?
I'm curious, the engineering review's at $2,500, you indicated that's a pass-through, and there's at least one other, I forget what it was. Wouldn't there have to be a similar line then under planning board revenue on the revenue sheets?
Should be.
Because otherwise it just inflates the budget for a number that doesn't need to be there, really.
Well, I questioned Elaine about that, and whether that should even appear on, pass-throughs should even appear on our budget.
Yeah.
Is that what?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to
Well,
me.
I mean,
Can they come in as revenue and as an expense?
If it shows up in expense, it's got to be on revenue, or it shouldn't be. It should be out of both places.
There's a line, so it hasn't been inputted yet, I don't think, because there's a line item for it in the revenue, but it's zeroed out right now.
So that's the engineering fees.
Yeah.
So
So
it
that
makes
amount-
sense to make that 2,500. I would,
That's 2,500, yeah.
or take it out of expenses. It
Well,
seems silly because you folks aren't paying anybody.
No, we're not, and so,
Actually, you are, but you get paid at the same time you're paying it. Pretty
yeah, so
Which is why it has to be in the.
Yeah. If Elaine says it has to be there, then I guess we'll just
that's
have
what
to,
she told us.
we'll have to
And we-
agree with her.
I'm-
But let's put it in the revenue too.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you'll have to let me know which ones need a corresponding revenue.
There was engineering, there was one.
So
wasn't
it's,
there a pass-through?
I can tell you, it's the ones that are reimbursed by the town when it, for engineering reviews, that's when we have a complex, development or excavation that needs watching, and the engineer who's assigned to that bills the town, then I wind up billing the applicant to reimburse the town. So
Yeah,
that's
what was
how
the other one?
that's
Yeah.
under.
So I would put 25, I put the equivalent amount in the revenue section.
I think
That
the
would-
problem is that it's kind of messy. The revenue lines are, they're
named a
called, they're
little
named
different.
differently. So what has to happen is that they need to get aligned, the language needs to get
Yeah.
aligned.
I think so too.
I can work on that if you just tell me which ones are the pass-throughs. I don't need
Okay,
the
okay, it's,
background, just
310.
310, yeah.
8. I'm sorry.
Hold equals.
I believe that's 622, which is recording fees,
Okay.
and then 625, which is postage. Those are all pass-throughs.
Okay.
Recording,
There's revenues associated with all of them,
Okay.
postage,
right?
and engineering.
Yes, that applicants pay,
What's yours?
but the town gets
Land use regulation.
reimbursed.
Okay.
We didn't have
Okay. I'll check with Elaine and make sure we have it on the revenue side.
And if
Okay.
the language gets aligned. Is that lurk line just left over back from the,
Yeah, what is that?
that's from the master plan days?
I have no idea what that is. to be
Because
honest
we had the land use regulation committee as part of the master plan.
with you. Okay,
But
Probably.
that was,
I don't know why it's there.
Could
Yeah.
make it go away, I guess.
yeah, just
You
wondering.
could make that go away.
Or see when the last time it had money in it,
Not. Okay.
yeah. Okay.
Anything else? I'm happy to.
I don't have any questions. Does anybody else have any questions?
Nope.
All right. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you, Sheldon.
You're welcome.
I guess we'll go. Might as well go straight backwards. So,
Conservation.
Conservation Commission with. Does that make sense?
Yeah, with Charlie.
Charlie
Yeah.
Townsend.
Yeah, gee, I don't know if
Just trying to find which
You
page.
stand up,
this is
but,
on.
Feel free not to.
It's on page 13.
Is it possible to make the page numbers bigger? I literally, even with my glasses, can't see these.
Oh yeah, and it's still under the damn staple.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't.
okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Not too far off of last year or subsequent, previous years as well. I guess some of the big changes is we kind of came up short on our sponsorship this year because after a steady decline in enthusiasm for various camp programs and things for Tamworth kids, we saw a resurgence this year, and that caught us a little off guard. So we tried to make up for that in subsequent years, which is great news. Perhaps these little posters here have something to do with it. So that went up a bit, and so therefore, in order not to just keep up things, we took some out of professional fees and knocked that down, and a couple other things, some maintenance and trails. We seem to, most of our expenses seem to be handled sort of by volunteers within the commission, so we're just not spending as much money on the actual maintenance and trails. Water quality monitoring is one of our biggest expenses, and that is kind of just a set $9.90, and so we got a little stuck when that got reduced because of an imposed cut last year, but so that's back up to $9.90. Everything else is on the mundane side, I guess. It's like
So Charlie, can I just ask about that?
Yep.
So that $9.90, is that like a contracted amount
Yeah,
that you
it's-
can't, you
it's-
don't have leeway with it?
no, in the sense that it's the Green Mountain Conservation Group that has a number of sites that they're monitoring, and so they bill each town, and they send us this very itemized bill which says this is what it costs, and it's like $2,700 per town,
Right.
and then they just bill us the $9.90, so that was a 10% increase from
Got it.
a number of years ago. But yeah, that seems like it's kind of a straight through thing, and they'll tell us if they're going to bump it up, because they only do that. Well, they've only done it once that I can remember. So that shouldn't be any surprises or expect to get any more from them in the future. But they do an awesome presentation, I should point out, when they come to the meetings, and I think all that information is available online. But it's just really interesting to see what all they're monitoring, and now they've got a pretty good amount of data compiled over the years, so you can sort of see what's going on for water quality in different sites throughout town, and they do that for all the towns in the watershed. Anything else that looks?
What is sponsorship?
That's we try to get Tamworth youth to go into something like you know a summer camp or something like that. There's kind of an environmental kind of angle to it,
Okay.
and especially for families that can't afford it. So.
Gotcha.
And there were a couple of those this year at Bear Camp and also at Tin Mountain. I think that didn't go, but Bear Camp did more than we were expecting. So but that was great. So,
Thank you.
they don't seem to have learned to spell while they were there. The spelling of these buzzers is horrible.
Yeah, we're gonna work on that next year. They were out in the woods, Charlie, so they didn't have anything.
Is there any questions for?
I just have a question. I mean, this is a small number, but the 5% increase for the clerical, is that a number you guys selected, or?
That's because that was the original proposal from 2023 that we had to bump it down 5% at your request, I think. So we're just trying to bump it back up. He's not. Chris Carver is the main.
Because I think
person
overall, I mean,
and he usually comes in well into this, to tell you the truth. But we just like to kind of keep it there in case there's some project that he's embarking on.
so it's by hours, not.
That's right.
Okay.
Is there any other questions?
Keep up the good work.
Do you have any questions for us?
I don't think so.
Awesome.
No.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for coming.
Moving on to the Highway Department with Richard Roberts.
Revenue.
10.
Thank
Which, I can see 10.
you. There it is. Yeah. Not under the schedule.
It's gonna be best one, yeah?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good
Have a
night,
good
Good
night.
night, thanks, Ellen.
So wander off as well. Good night, everybody.
Have a good
Good
night.
night, Charlie.
Thanks, Charlie.
Let me know if there's anything exciting on the highway.
Okay. I will.
Watch it, right?
That's true.
Anybody has any questions, we start at the top and work going up, and, you know, like the first one is the part-time help.
Can you remind me what part-time jobs?
The guys that help me in the wintertime or in the summertime.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Mainly in the wintertime, and, you know, I had to go up on that some just because it's getting really hard to get people to want to work in the wintertime and plow snow.
Yeah.
It's not a big mystery. Well, it's hard to get anybody to work, but especially in the wintertime. I've always been very lucky, but I think
What did we pay the part timers last year?
$20.
$20.
And what are we?
You're not going to leave it there.
Okay.
No, I'm going to leave it there.
So is it more?
It's
'cause
more
we offered
hours. It's
17
because-
to 30. So
Yeah,
it's-
because what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have another guy in one of the town trucks more plowing.
Okay.
That's the main reason.
Yep.
And as anybody here knows, that if you can get somebody for $20 an hour, you're
Very lucky.
very lucky, you know, especially to come in on nights and weekends and whenever to be on call.
So the part time is the second line down, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So this,
Yep.
it's not quite double, but that's fine.
All right. Over.
Why'd the telephone go up 17%?
I don't know. Do you know Keats? I don't.
I have no idea. I'm still. So are we on overtime?
Yeah.
Yep. And
Oh,
overtime is
overtime,
obviously just for
okay.
the full timers, right?
Yeah, that's just for the full. Yeah,
Yep.
it is. Yep.
Is that due to their increase, the increase in pay that
From
the
last
COLA?
year, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and if we do get anything this year, just to cover us.
Okay.
And the next one is the bridge and
Wait,
repair.
so, no, how could that be? Last year, the COLA is in the 45.
Oh, okay.
So
this year's
the
t-
11% increase for part-timers, it must be more hours too, right?
It's more, yeah, it is.
Okay. And presumably 3% for hourly wage.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
whatever, yeah.
whatever
Whatever
they
it
decide.
is.
I mean, I don't know if it's 3 or that hasn't been decided, but
0%. So the next one that increased is the health insurance. That's obviously nothing we can do about that. And
that is
FICA
up 15.6%.
Okay. And same with FICA.
Yeah, FICA's
Yeah.
0.062%, and so it's just more because there's more payroll.
So now we're down to telephone, and then
Telephone.
electricity is down 30%.
I know that, how,
Well,
you've been having the guys turn the lights off when they leave or something?
no,
Uh,
I
wish
I
that was it.
plugged that number in, and so what I did is I took the rate of the first 9 months and applied it to a year, but then I got a notice that the rates are going back up.
Oh,
So
so that number's gonna change.
so that number's going to go up a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
But phone went down, that's kinda weird.
And
Did you
then
get rid of a phone? I don't know how that.
and equipment repair and maintenance.
Wait,
No, oh, sorry, I was just going to increases.
Went up.
phone went up.
Yeah,
17%.
it's a big jump.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
And then we talk about electricity. So the equipment repair and maintenance, has that gone up? I mean, obviously it's gone up considerably for what a bill would be at a shop in the last 4 or 5 years. But has your budget gone up a ton in the last 4 or 5 years for that?
No,
No, not really. That's
it's just the parts more than anything.
But yeah, even the labor cost though in the last 4 or 5 years at a shop has gone up quite a
Well,
bit.
it's $125 to $150 now
Yeah.
for diesel mechanic.
I just had Volvo out to service my excavator. They get $218 an hour for the service truck.
Well, a good example is Caterpillar won't even come to the shop. They get $1,000 just to show up.
So that's under pretty understandable increase. How much is left? Do you see? Do you have any big repairs coming up this fall that will use up some of that?
We're just hoping we can limp through the winter with a loader. That's the big thing.
Yep, that could. Yeah.
And I'm not gonna deal with that. I mean, I just, yeah.
Okay.
That's, yeah.
So then the next line is salt and sand. Has the salt gone up again this year, or?
No, it stayed about the
About
same.
the same.
It did. Yeah, we just got the prices on it. It stayed about the same.
And sand is pretty close to what it.
Yeah,
What
it
it
is.
is.
Yeah.
You're not gonna need training with the new employees don't need anything that would go in that training line?
No, I think they're good.
Okay.
Now, so what's the next one? Equipment rentals, 13%. So. Yeah, you'll use up most all of that this year probably by this fall if you rent anything else because you're
Yeah,
gonna have a lot.
but a lot of that is for the guys in the winter that we hire the private.
Oh, I
trucks.
always forget that that's not like
That's,
just.
yeah, that's where a lot of that goes to.
What is it?
It's also the hired trucks, like the plow trucks that are
Oh.
down there, so that it goes
And
into
that's where a
equipment
lot of
rental.
that goes.
I always forget that. I always
Yeah.
think it's.
Yeah.
And then, so culverts and gravel, is there a reason that decreased?
Yeah, because we're starting to get some ahead.
Okay.
We're starting to, over the years, we've got some ahead now as a stockpile down at the transfer station.
Good.
Tried to buy, we've got some ahead, and we bought some this year, but we're in pretty good shape
Okay.
as far as that.
Now, what line, when you have the guys, the company come in and crush, where do you Where do you
Usually
usually
the
work?
The road construction,
Road construction.
because that saves us so much money on the material.
Oh yeah, definitely. I just was curious
Saves
what
so
line
much.
you
Yeah,
pulled
it
it
comes
out
out
of.
of the road construction.
Yeah. Which that'll be a couple years probably until they.
Could be the spring again.
You did use a lot of that bio.
Yeah, but it might be in the spring.
Yeah. 60%.
So I'm looking at the actuals so far, Richard.
Yeah.
When we had all that weather damage from, what was it, May 1st, and
Yeah.
then that subsequent storm and all the undercutting and stuff, you still managed to keep it in budget with that?
Barely.
Yeah.
That's what we're hoping to get the money from FEMA.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, we spent, I figure for material and time, it's upwards, it's near 100,000.
And is that part of the overtime bump?
No.
No, they did it normal hours.
No, they did it no normal hours. We had a little bit of overtime, but nothing crazy.
Yeah. And so how does that work, Keats, when you know that there's a, or Richard, you might know because you've gone through the process, when you know that there's a application in for FEMA reimbursement, it doesn't show up in our, we don't have to put it as a line item in the budget? How do we accept,
No,
how
because
do
we
we
don't know when
accept
it will
that?
come.
So it's unanticipated revenue.
Yeah. And
So we have to have a hearing for it because it's gonna be over $10,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it could come
can
in
take up
a
to-
few months and it
oh,
could take a
It
year.
could take
Yeah.
up to a year.
But obviously you weren't able to do some of the road construction. You would have
well,
if you.
we couldn't.
Yeah.
We just couldn't, but I don't,
That's the only
but
way you
it
could
doesn't
keep
matter. My feeling was that this is the budget and you work within it and that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, then we do get the money from FEMA,
Yeah, you can use
then
it.
we can
to
use it.
Yeah.
Hopefully catch back up a little
Yeah.
bit.
But that's how it's dealt with just a public hearing to accept it.
Yeah.
For the road reconstruction, do you? I know you. I saw the plan when I was at the CIP meeting, but is there a reason other than just the cost of stuff for the 20% increase? Is that where you?
Well, it was 250.
Yep.
To 300. It was 300 last year,
And you
and
dropped.
we had to cut it back to 250.
Okay.
And I hope that doesn't happen this year because if it does, it does. But pretty soon we're gonna, all the roads in town are gonna be gravel.
That's okay with me.
Oh, and it's okay with me too. Believe me, it is. But it's just everything is so.
Just don't do it in
expensive.
front of my house.
No, everything is so expensive. It is.
Okay. All right. No, I was just curious.
I'll tell you. I mean, when I came in, I had a 10-year plan.
Yep.
And we had a spender freeze during COVID, and then we couldn't spend any money, and I got zonked pretty hard a couple times because, we had bids for the spring, and then we waited till the fall. And by the time we did it in the fall, it was between another $60,000 to $80,000 for the paving. Well, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's frustrating as a department head. And it does, and I know we did it, and I do it again, because that's what I was asked to do, and you do it. But just sometimes I think we should plan ahead a little better, because it comes back to bite us sometimes. That's just my feeling, in my department.
Do the CIP in here.
Do you want, I have a CIP here if you look at it.
Yeah, what is it?
Roadside mowing is just you just went to 25 over 24. Obviously,
Just because he did it for the same price this year, but he said
he's gonna
next
increase
year
a
he's
little
gonna,
That's understandable.
and he does a great job.
Yep.
He comes in, he does half of the town every year.
Thanks.
Very lucky to get him.
All right. I don't have any other questions. Does anybody else?
I don't have questions about your budget per se, but I do have about the backhoe situation.
The one at the transfer station?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, that's not my department. But Glenn should seriously think about setting some money aside to get a different one. And it hasn't gonna be a brand new one. I mean, you could get a very nice back for what he does.
Yep.
The main reason that backhoes last as long as it has is because of Bob Davis. He goes above and beyond to help us out. He really does.
I know I drove by the town pit today, I noticed that the backhoe wasn't there. Is the
It's
transfer
down-
station borrowing it, or is it out in use somewhere?
One of the guys went down to help Glenn and squish everything down.
Yeah. Is that what you guys worked out for now until
Yeah,
this is back up?
until he gets it back.
But thinking ahead, is there anybody in the wings who's been training up to kind of fill Bob Davis's shoes, not that they can be filled in the future?
Not that I know of. Not on older equipment.
I mean, I'm just saying that that's like, he's so good at what he does.
He's good, this guy's around, and Bob's very good. He's
Yeah.
just, you know, he's a local guy and he does a lot of just to help the town out.
Yeah.
He really does, and he's very reasonable. That's just Bob, the way he is.
Yep.
You know, I will say that for him, but honestly,
You're lucky to get a mechanic
yeah,
at all.
you're very lucky.
So somebody will have to do it, but it's definitely a tough. And it's really, I mean, if you can call somebody, get somebody out within a day or two, you're very
You're
fortunate.
very lucky. You're lucky if you can get him within a week.
Yeah. So we'll just have to.
But no, that's a good point, Leon. That's something I'll look into.
I mean, I'm just thinking
Well, no,
if we're
I agree
trying
with
to
you. Yeah.
maximize the life of some of these machines,
Yeah.
and one way that you maximize it is because you have somebody who's responsive and
Yeah.
knows what they're doing and comes and takes care of it.
Yeah.
It's a skill set, and if you can't find that person, then that means we can't maximize the life of our machines the same way. So if you're talking about thinking ahead,
Yeah.
I
But I'm
think
very
that
lucky.
there's that human factor we have to consider.
But I'm very lucky to have the guys from Advanced Diesel.
Yep.
They're very good.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. As far
And they're
as
good with the
I'm concerned.
towns too.
What's that?
They're good with the towns too.
Yeah, they're very good.
Going.
They are. Yeah.
So
They'll come out and give a hand, pretty much, almost like Bob does.
Okay.
Just that Bob's always worked on the town backhoe and the transfer station. He's a case mechanic too,
Yeah.
which makes it nice.
Okay.
But
Thanks for helping out.
yeah, I don't. And I told Glenn we'll do whatever to help out. As far as that, but I think that not speaking for the transfer station, that's something they could think about.
Right.
Because
Yeah,
it's
certainly.
gonna happen. They've had that backhoe's pretty old.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering what we can do as a backup plan in the event that it is not repairable at some point.
But what, I have no idea, what does it get used for at the transfer station?
crushing down the dumpsters.
Moving the
Dumpster.
dumpsters.
And moving the dumpsters, yeah.
And he
Yeah.
plows the
Winter plow.
Oh,
he
and
plows
winter
the
plowing.
driveway in the
Yeah.
wintertime.
So it gets a good amount of use then.
Yeah, it does, especially
Yeah.
in the wintertime, but
Okay.
yeah.
And again, no, it's not your department, just trying to tie it
Well,
together.
and seriously, I'll do anything to help out as far as that, okay?
Mhm.
I'll reach
Alright.
out, and I'm kinda curious now just to see what is out there,
Okay.
Okay.
okay?
Any other questions for Richard? Do you have any questions for us? Any?
No, I just think the only thing that I do wanna say, I think they should make sure we plan ahead and not go backwards. And I know everybody has to cut and save money, but I just think that,
Okay.
keep that in mind. And I know we all wanna save on taxes, and I think we all do a pretty good job on that, but I don't think you should cut us out short either.
Is there a particular area you're concerned about not getting cut?
I just wanna see the road construction continue.
Okay.
I just think that, we had a project this spring, then when we first got the bids, it was $400,000 to $500,000, and we came in and, as we all know, saved a lot of money for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're gonna be able to do that again on Mountain Road Bridge too. I'm working on it really hard right now, I think we're gonna be able to,
Good.
if it,
To that point, we didn't talk about, which is currently in the budget, is the use of the Bridge Capital Reserve Fund to pay for Mountain Road, which you have priced at $250, right? For
yeah. And I'm hoping it'll be less,
Okay,
Less
so
than 250.
hoping. Right now, what we're waiting for the steel prices.
Okay.
so I checked with Bob Seston, and he, that is the purpose of that fund. And then I guess, in the CIP planning process, the question is, should we be putting $200 a year into it? Should we be putting $150 a year into it, going forward? Currently, Richard was explaining to me that the state just did their
They're going to check the
inspections.
bridges, and we'll hear again.
So we might find out we have another,
Red listed bridge, but we get the Mountain Road done, all the red listed bridges will be done. Good.
How often do they go around and,
Once a year.
they do one, so
Yep.
it could come up anytime?
And the only reason I know they're out because I saw them on Bunky Hill
Yep.
Bridge the other day. There was a state back up there inspecting, and they'll send us the printout of what each condition the bridge is in.
But they check all bridges once
Yep.
a year?
Yeah.
So you must have like yellow light, knowing that it's
Yeah.
something's
I do,
coming up
I
like
do,
that. So you've
yeah.
got a
But they're
little.
tough, but they're tough to figure sometimes because, like 3 years ago, they took 2 bridges off that were red listed.
They took them off.
They
Yeah.
decided they
They
were
got
okay.
better?
Don't even ask me.
It might have been difference in
Huh.
opinion when somebody inspected them, I guess, maybe.
Yeah,
I guess it would have to be. I don't
yeah, it's got to be. But it was only like a single lane bridge too.
So
both
when
of
we
them.
were doing the 200 a year for the CIP, was it to have just theoretical money there in case?
The bottom line why that came up was after the Bunker Hill Bridge.
Because it was so expensive.
Yeah, don't even get started on that.
Yeah. So maybe it's possible to have that number be 100 a year, not 200 a year.
Well, and maybe once we get to if we had it at whatever, and then once we get to a certain point,
You can't.
then
You could.
stop
Stop.
putting money into it. You know, if we get to $500,000,
Keats and me were talking about it today. I think that, maybe this year don't raise anything.
Yep.
Maybe what?
This year don't raise anything.
Because we have 200, yeah?
Right, we're going to spend 250.
Yeah,
from
we're going
it.
to spend, but we
Yeah.
also have what, 350 in there? You said,
Yeah.
and I think that's what we
In the
decided.
capital reserve fund, there's 350.
and then
Okay.
another year I think go to 100.
Yep.
Right.
And it
So we'll
also
get down to
depends-
100 and we add to 100.
And
to
it also depends when we get the bridge report from the state
Yeah.
too.
When does it come in?
Usually
But I think those
in
numbers are
the end of
from
November. If I
when the
remember,
bridges
it
were
was back.
650.
Yeah. So when they give you the red flag on the bridge, what's the like? How does that work? They say this bridge is a red flag. You have X period of time to fix it, or do they say it's got to be fixed tomorrow? Like what kind of notice do they give you?
They're usually pretty good.
Yeah.
They're pretty good. They'll give you 2, 3, 4 years out.
Okay.
Is what they'll do.
So you could
So you
raise
can
the money
plan.
over time.
Yeah.
And they must obviously keep inspecting them every year.
They do.
So
Yeah,
that if there was an
they do.
issue, they would.
And that's what happened on the Scott Bridge. They said it was good for 3 more years, and then all of a sudden it had to be replaced. Then. But we knew it had to be done. We had
Right.
planned on doing it anyways.
Okay.
Right. Okay. I just
Yeah.
want to know how that process worked.
And they're good. They're decent. If I have any questions, I can just call and ask them. They'll come out. They're good that way.
How many bridges do we have in town?
13.
Oh,
That's a manageable number.
that's not
Yeah, I
as
thought
many
it'd
as
be more
thought.
than that.
But there's also some big culverts.
Yes.
That another time you replace them, you're not going to be able to put culverts back in.
Yep.
That's,
Now, is this bridge here? Is this a town bridge or is
Yes.
this?
it's a town bridge.
Can we
So
make
that
this
would-
a state road anytime soon?
But it was they put that in the 70s.
I remember the old
70s.
bridge.
So that means
so
it's
beautiful.
In the next probably 10 or 20 years, that'll be
Yeah,
up.
Which one? The town bridge?
the one right there. Yeah,
So it was
The
only in the
concrete's pretty bad.
70s that Archie one went away? Oh, no kidding. Thought
Yeah.
that was in the olden days.
That was for me.
Well, it is the olden days.
All right. Do we have any other questions?
Well, thank you, Richard.
Yeah. Thank you for coming in
Guys.
tonight. Appreciate it.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. And if you need anybody, reach out, and I will get back to you quickly.
Cool.
Reach out, okay?
Thanks.
I didn't get a chance today because I drew up some of you. And
Good.
spoke to some other people. Okay?
Yes. Let's do that.
Good.
It's not written on the agenda. Is there any just sort of general conversation about budgeting as
Thanks,
we
I'll be
start
done.
going through this process? I sent you the timelines today.
Yep. I didn't get a chance
I
to
didn't
take a
look
look
at it
at it. I
yet.
saw the email,
Okay,
but-
it's a helpful just overview. Helps me.
You mean the
anyway.
timeline for the process
The
up
whole
until the
process,
hearings? Oh,
yeah,
good.
that
Great.
gets us to town meeting.
Okay.
So, how many more? We'll have a few more department heads next week.
We have scheduled for next week and the following week, and then probably there's a whole slew that like I kind of put together,
Okay.
that we'll go through. I think the key issue here is that the number's very it's a high budget. It's got a lot of growth in it, so one way or another, and I don't know how you make the call, but we need to get the numbers, I think, down.
Yeah.
I mean, I respect what Richard's saying about penny wise and pound foolish, but
Yep.
I maybe doing away with I think the CIP recommended we didn't raise any money for bridge this year because we're
No,
raising the money
no, it's
for
$250.
Mountain Road. But there was Mountain Road. There was 2 lines. There was Mountain Road, and then there was all. No, yeah.
Here,
Mountain
it's
Road
right here. So,
and the,
yeah, so
the
the-
general bridge fund.
right. So
We'll see.
in the CIP, there's
So maybe we're thinking reducing the amount for Mountain Road because
Well,
there's money
so-
left over in.
So Mountain Road's kind of a wash. He's saying put 250 in the budget, which is in here,
Okay.
and then we'll use 250 from the capital reserve as a revenue source, which is also already in here. So Mountain Road is assuming the town votes in a warrant article to use capital reserve funds, that's a wash. What other cost that Richard has is the articulating loader, which is at 250. And then he also has the road reconstruction and paving, which is actually just like a regular number in the budget line. So that's already, it's funny because here it's at 250 and he put in at 300 in the budget. So that's a conversation to be continued, I guess. And then there's the $35,000 truck. But overall, the CIP number for highway is 785. 250 of which is a regular recurring expense. It's just it's the paving, road reconstruction and paving. And I guess because that's a it seems like the whole department's capital, so I don't know why that number is pulled out specifically. But anyway, going back to, so the bridge is a wash, this is in the budget anyway. And so really the CIP number that is kind of unique in this 1 year is the 250.
For the
For
loader.
the loader. And then when we were just talking about the bridge money, see how there's 200 every year?
Mhm.
I believe that, because Richard said he didn't update it with the CIP, team. I believe
That
that
could be
was
reduced.
kind of back when the bridges were at 650, not 250.
Yep.
So that's what we were just talking about, like maybe that number could be taken down to 100 or 150.
Yeah, and then when we get to a point where there's some money in there, then we could even.
Yeah, well, there's
Drop it down
350
more, yeah.
already in this reserve. We're
Okay.
going to spend 250, so that'll leave 100. If we add 100 a year, at the end of 5 years, we'll have 600 in it.
Yep.
And again, as he said, depending on what the state inspection shows. But
But didn't he just say pull this year's 250 out and zero that out? Thought that's what he just said.
yeah, yes, it's not in this budget to put 250 in the capital reserve, because we're gonna put 250 in fixing the bridge and use the capital reserve. So you wouldn't take 250 out and put 250 in. Right?
So I thought that the CIP line, and I might be misremembering, I thought that CIP line was a separate warrant article. So it's not reflected here in Richard's highway department budget.
I was thinking.
no, there is a capital improvement section. Wait, let me see where it is. Capital improvement, where's the bridge?
That's what I was.
Oh, because it's in a separate, but it's not part
Maybe
of
it is
his.
in Richard's. Wait, just let
I
me.
don't see it in this.
Where I know it's somewhere. I'm just like blanking on where it is.
Okay.
I can come to the highway department.
No, it's not in his budget.
There we go. But it's not in this budget here, is what you're saying?
It's not in there.
Okay.
Page 14,
The,
capital.
the loaders and capital improvements on page 14, yeah.
Where's the two? Oh, here it is. It's line 690 on page 14. Bridge replacements, Mountain Road.
Oh, yeah, 250. So
And
he's,
then if you look at revenues in the earlier pages, there's 250 from the capital reserve. So that's a wash.
okay.
So that is capital improvement. So in a sense, it's following the CIP plan. It's just dedicated to Mountain Road Bridge.
Okay.
So I guess the question is, up above there's the loader, and then there's for 250, and then there's 35,000 for. I mean, they sort of were putting half of the amount needed for a truck for Richard, for Rick, the maintenance department.
So
We could consider not doing.
you're the truck guy. My thought is, like, he's not putting any miles on it. What if we bought a second-hand truck instead of buying a new one?
For a municipality, I think it's tough to do. it's tougher than like a private entity, because if
Oh,
they're-
is it?
in my opinion, because if you have issues and breakdowns,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's hard to budget for that.
Because you don't have any
Even though, like, obviously, if
guarantee.
he buys a new truck, 5 years from now, it's still a used truck, but it's
Mhm.
been maintained hopefully correctly, and it's hard. I don't know. I mean, it is possible to buy a used truck. I'm not saying it's not. It's just
I mean, I'm just saying, $70,000, so
the other thing we can
Rick
do
can
is.
have a truck that he drives a tiny bit.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I also don't think it's fair that he has to use his own tools in his own truck.
Yeah.
I mean, but that was part of his job description. That was part of the hiring. So,
Well, I guess if we're going to, you know, if we're going to look at, you know, trying to cut a certain percentage of stuff like we did last year, maybe see what Richard's opinion is on where he thinks we should take
So-
stuff away. I mean, it's,
oh
you
yeah,
know, if
absolutely.
he thinks that that's less important, or maybe we can get away with a used vehicle
Yeah.
and reduce that line.
Yeah.
Maybe you can take out 20,000 there and just put in 15 and then 15 again. Because that was the plan, 35 this year and 35 next
I
year.
believe,
You can
yeah.
do 15 and 15 and buy a used pickup. Maybe
So-
we don't need, but I think, I was gonna say maybe we don't need that size pickup either. You could do it like a half ton, but the only problem with that is the plan was to set it up. Well, I think Highway was gonna take the new one, so they'd set it up for plowing, and then the one that they'd be giving to Rick
What they already
would
have.
be
yeah.
set up for plowing,
Which
and
is
there'd be
why
a
they would
backup.
get a, yeah, right.
But it's also, that doesn't have to.
I mean, overall,
Work like
this, you know, this document represents everybody's wish list, right? So, I don't know if it's a crazy wish list or what, but it's up significantly.
And then- Yeah, I mean, each budget's, you know, there's different lines that seem like they could be reduced. But I mean, like with the road reconstruction, I know he wants to have it at 300, but maybe take out 20,000 there and do it 280 or 25 and do 275.
Well, right, and if you were really gonna sort of start talking about numbers, it's more like we need to find like 600,000.
Yeah, I'm talking just in this budget though.
I
I don't
know,
think we
but
can pull
that's-
600,000.
Yeah.
But this, no, of course not, but just FYI.
Well, I'm
but
saying if you
that budget
were
is
looking for
20% of
if
the
you were
total
looking
budget,
for
so-
50 out of the highway department,
Yeah,
maybe you take. I mean, we can leave this up to Richard to
Yeah.
suggest what he wants. Maybe you take 20 out of that, and then you could take some
Instead
of
of a
the
flat.
73% increase
Yeah.
in part-time salaries. Take
Yeah.
out 4,000 out of that.
yep,
2,000 out of the full-time. You know, I mean, it would add up.
yeah,
Maybe you don't take all 50 out of the road like you did last.
or you take
last
50
year.
and then some, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, they're big numbers.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, you can leave the budget exactly as is, it's just sort of a range, it's like completely raise the tax rate, or, you know, that's the choice. How do you, maybe it's a combo of all of the above. And the revenues for 2024 are conservative because that's a good practice to estimate conservatively, but they're also down in specific ways. One of the ways they're down is that we probably won't have a tax deeded sale next year because we didn't take any properties. And this year we got $137,000 in revenues that came in that go into the unassigned fund balance.
But we spent that money too, which is why the money came
But
in.
we spent it the year before,
Yeah.
so, you know, so it's there, right? And that money won't come in next year. We won't spend in this year, but again, it's a positive impact. We voted in the fund balance to release one of the capital reserve funds for the SUV. So that was 51,000 that then has no correlating expense. There's just a few big chunks of money that aren't in the 2024. So you have both budget increases at 7% and you have some revenue decreases. So the combined impact of that is a big number. And I just, you know, it's like the choice that you all will have to make is how much do you raise the tax rate versus, you know, in the following year, versus cutting the budget.
Or pulling more from the unassigned fund balance? Is that,
Yeah, that's always an option.
The only thing is, I think you gotta look down the road too, because if
Yeah.
you pull more out this year, there's less next year.
Certainly.
Right.
We were talking about the giant surplus we have in there,
Yeah.
right?
Well, yeah, so right now it's at, it's just below 20%. And what's happening is, the percentage is actually going down a little bit because the budget said it's reflected against the, well, the way you calculate it is you look at county, state, our budget, and county, state, and the school budget. And you add those up, and then the unassigned fund balance is a percent of that. As those go up, we have to keep more of the unassigned fund balance at that percentage level. So that number's not actually as flush as we wish it were. We won't really know. I mean, I sort of try and ballpark how it will be impacted, and there's definitely some things that are going to make it grow. So there is some room, but you know, it's hard money to replace, and you really want it for catastrophe.
Sure.
So, but most places keep it at 5 to 17%, and we're right now just below 20. So yeah,
So maybe we get it down to 17 or 16 this year, and then get it down some
Which
more.
is where we had it last year. So I'm surprised it went back up to 20, but we'll see where it really
well, because the
shakes out.
previous year's budget had a huge surplus. It was an $800 and something thousand surplus, $860,000 surplus. So that added to it. This year we won't have that kind of surplus, so it won't get a big.
Yeah.
We'll have some surplus, but again, and I know of some discrete numbers that are going to go into the general fund and unassigned fund
But
balance.
I think it's something to think about, and when we have that discussion, then we can really, nail down where we all think we should be at. And then,
Yeah.
I mean, looking at trends too, our part-time salaries in almost every department are up 50 to 200%, and I think that's because we finally have people in positions. You know, like we finally have staffing in the police department, and still not enough, but we finally have rec programs. I mean, so we've been going for a couple of years without having
COVID sort of threw it all.
being fully staffed. So looking at this, the 2024 compared to the 2023, yeah, they're big jumps, but I think it's also because we're getting to a more normal place for
Equilibrium.
staffing, yeah. But you also see, because we don't have the police department staff, overtime, and Richard was talking about overtime too, overtime numbers are super high because we don't have consistent people doing the work at a regular rate. So,
Well, I think we, when we decide what we'd like to do for a cut or whatever, then we leave it up to the department heads to see what their thoughts are and where they think. I mean, it's easy enough for us to look at a big number and say, we could take some out here and here and here, but, see what their opinion is, and then we can decide at that point.
And what do you all, have you all had time to sort of think about the percentage to salary? So right now, I just put in 3% because that was kind of the midpoint of a bunch of the different indexes. Looks like Social Security is going to do 3.2 or 4. So
Yeah, we had a large increase last year. Was there one the year before and the year before? Is there a...
So the year before that, the year before last year, we did merit, right? Because, well, not merit
you
necessarily.
did that equalizing thing,
Yeah,
right?
so we got 5 towns pay for certain positions, averaged that out, and then tried to catch up to that because we were a little behind that. So certain positions might have got a 6 or 7% increase,
That
or
was
8%
2 years ago,
increase.
or maybe 3?
2 years ago.
Okay.
So it's
3 years ago I was
2020.
I wasn't here.
2021,
2022.
Okay.
2021.
2021, you were doing the budget, got voted in 2022. And
Yes.
And then when we all did it, we did the 8, I think it was 8.1, because that was what we thought. Social Security actually ended up being 8.7% COLA. I think we did 8.1.
We did 7
Did we?
last year. Yeah, I think we did
Yep.
Was
7.
it 7?
Yeah.
I was thinking it was 8.1.
Because I
Okay.
argued to get 6, and you guys were
I was about to second the 6, but you went right to 7.
oh, whatever, we won't go there.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're all
So we
happy.
did 7.
So
Every lot.
most people have had 2 years with big bumps. Or
With
equalizing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but then some people the year before were already kind of, so they might only get a 3% increase the year before. But I think that this year, I don't see from
Give us that
my
last.
cost of doing business and stuff, I don't see the increases in like goods like we did last year.
Mhm.
I don't think that
The
the price.
inflation is way down, actually.
Yeah, well, the price is so high that it hopefully can't go much higher for stuff. And fuel's down a little bit from last year. So I think that like a 3%. I don't think we should go less than 3% because I feel like that's pretty minimal. Like going 2 or that seems
The
like not much of a
1.23
raise.
of the
I think a
That's the
3% raise
municipal, yeah.
municipal,
for
yeah.
people maybe that have been here longer than 6 months. Is that what we
I think
kind
we
of?
did 12 months last year.
12 months.
Or 12
Because
months.
in theory, you've negotiated
Yes.
the
Yeah.
current
That's
rate.
what our thoughts were
Yeah.
last year. And then, did we do anything for people that were here less than 12 months last year? We didn't?
No.
Okay, I couldn't. So yeah, maybe we'll do that again.
Yep.
Or
So
Okay.
that shows
That- 3% seems. I haven't honestly thought a lot about it, but that seems pretty good to me going off of what we did last year. And then,
Mhm.
we can see where we're
That's
at.
what's currently, yeah.
the.
It's
So
current
that's not
budget.
reflected anywhere. No department heads have factored that in.
Yes, they have.
They have.
Basically, most of them left them. I can go back and I'll double check them all, but most people just left it blank, and then I took last year's salary and multiplied by 1.3.
What?
So it is in there.
So it's in there.
Okay.
What was
At 3%.
1.03, yeah.
Okay.
Lost my train of thought, but
Sorry.
doesn't matter, I guess. Wasn't that important, obviously.
Okay, so the process. So we keep meeting
So
with
what-
department heads, and then
At what point do we decide? Like last year, we had a meeting when we really went back and forth on what we decided for cost of living increase. I mean, do we do that now, or do we?
you can do it
Anytime
now.
during the budget process.
Or should we wait and see how the budget goes and then make that decision once we decide where our numbers are at?
That might-
Not that we're gonna save a lot in our, changing a percent
3 to 1, 3 to 2 won't make a huge difference, but
in our budget, but maybe we wait and
1%.
see where we're at in a few
the
weeks.
budget's about $1,050,000, I think.
Higher than it was?
No, well, that's it. That's what it is.
1,050,000?
It's 26 pay periods times.
You're saying the
for the
payroll.
payroll, I was like,
It
Yeah.
says
I was thinking
The payroll.
okay,
Sorry.
it's
Wow, the whole budget was that big.
1,176,000.
I can come up with that.
What?
Based on that sheet you gave us,
Mm-hmm.
it's 1,176,000.
1,100,000. Okay, so 1.2, 1% then for is 12,000.
1.2 is 1,155,000.
So looking at
So that's the
if we
difference
did a
between-
3% increase on 1.2 million, 1.1 whatever million, wouldn't that'd be what 30 something thousand, 33. And
Is that
It's
last
right-
number?
it's all right
It's
here.
already in there.
So there's what the
is that with a 3%?
this is with the 3%. What it would cost us for payroll.
Why did we do the 1.23?
She just was showing us to compare it.
1.23 is the municipal index.
Recommended.
Well, it's not
Yeah.
Not
recommended.
recommended, but-
It's the average of 3 indexes: the consumer price, producer price, and
These were the.
Whatever that
construction.
was. Oh, okay.
So this one is.
But the difference of going to like say we did 2% versus 3%, it's probably the difference of like $12,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's or
Not
11,
huge.
11 and
Right.
change. I don't know. I guess I would say let's see where. Not that I don't think $11,000 is gonna
Wait a little bit
break the
longer.
budget, but I would say maybe in a few weeks we kind of nail that down and we have a different opinion then.
Okay.
And so
Maybe gas prices go up another $1 a gallon and we decide that 4%.
We
is
get-
what-
Yeah.
6 more red listed bridges.
let's
Nobody's
hope
getting
not.
raises this year.
Let me know.
Just so for my guidance, so we'll go through the department head, we'll go through all the other little things that we need to cover, and then you guys will start to talk about how do we, what's the goal number, and so how do we get to that goal number, and is it unassigned fund balance, is it increasing the tax rate, is it cutting the budget? Those are kind of the 3 levers.
I mean, one thing that we
And
did
grants.
last year was we heard everybody come in and tell us why they needed their budget to be the way it is, and then we talked to individual department heads. Because I remember I worked with the fire department last year trying to see if we could get grants to reduce some of the, so I think that once that round comes through, that's when you can kind of have those independent,
And we did 5% across the board on that one.
yeah.
I don't know if that's the right answer for this
But
year
even
or not.
even before that, we were trying to work individually to see, like, if there were different funding mechanisms out there, or if somebody could push something back a year, you know, and
I know if we could get one of those big machines.
yeah,
into
I mean, because the
following
fire
year.
pushed it back,
Yeah, did they push
Really?
it back
Yeah.
last year?
so,
I'm really against recommending the loader because I think we've done that for 2 or 3
well,
2
I
years
think
now.
that,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
It
that
sounds
one
like
could
it's-
all like any day be like a $35,000-$40,000 like incident. So
Yeah.
if the motor ends up going on it.
So let's get through everybody here.
Okay.
Hear why they want their money to be the way they want it to be, and then start thinking outside the box.
Okay, cool.
And then
And for
and then
as
we
far
cut
as
if we don't have any outside the box.
as far as we'll decide on like a percentage we're gonna recommend for like reducing budgets after that point. Like last year we did 5%. We could
Yeah.
is that something?
Would that get us to where we need to go? I don't know. We can look at the. It might, it might not. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that after we see if anybody's got any wiggle room that they'll willingly shift something. And if not, then we say we all got to cut this amount.
Okay. Where are we? LRPC Regional Housing Needs Assessment.
So last night, the planning board had a work session, largely to talk about this. The next meeting with LRPC, which is when the commissioners, and just a reminder, Richard and I are the commissioners, Wyatt Barrier is the alternate representing Tamworth right now. At the 23rd meeting, that's when the commissioners are going to have to vote to accept this, the choices that the commissioners are going to have are between accepting this housing analysis or adopting it. So accepting it means we say, yep, we see this, we've seen it, whatever. Adopting it means that that our LRPC region will put this into practice, like make a commitment to put things into practice. So what the planning board said last night, if you had a chance to look through it, I don't think there were any big surprises in it, but the data is really interesting to have it all in one place. So the planning board last night was in favor of supporting it. They said that they would accept it. It doesn't make sense for Tamworth to use language like adoption because a lot of this has to do with zoning regulations, which obviously we don't have in the works. One of the question areas was page 68, I think it was, in the document that I sent you. I'm not going to look it up. I think it was page 68, and it was a chart, a chart that had all of the towns. It had, as of 2020, our existing number of housing units. It had a recommendation for total new housing units by 2040. And of those total new housing units, what percentage was needed to be workforce or affordable? The concern with some commissioners that was raised was that by adopting that chart, they were asking, does this open us up to litigation? Because under a pretty recent RSA, towns are required to allow multi-house, multi-unit development on 51% of their residentially zoned land. So you can't zone.
Can't just have
You can't just zone single family anymore. And so what people were worried about is this going to bring up, are people going to say, oh, it's 2040, you were supposed to have 180 new units with 40 of them being workforce housing, you don't, so I'm gonna sue you because I need a house. And other people were saying, well, that
Is there
seems...
LRPC commissioners?
Yes, this was part of the conversation. And there were a couple of lawyers in the room who were commissioners. One said, yeah, I'm really afraid of that. The other one said, I think that's absurd, that's never gonna happen. It is happening in so this model is it's a template that came from New Jersey and California, which are apparently the only two states that have adopted this.
Oh, it's the Mount Laurel model in New Jersey.
Yeah. So New Jersey.
And the RSA is already in place.
Yeah. But this quantifies. It takes the RSA, which is in general, and then it uses these different metrics. And Jeff Hayes, who is the executive director, said, really, like, we don't know if this metrics makes sense. We had to use a metric because we had to come up with this as a way to show the data and show a projection. We don't know if this one even makes sense. So we don't know if these numbers make sense, but we had to come up with something. So they told us, here's how we came up with this. Here's what the result is. So they were transparent with how they came up with it. They just are like, but we don't know if that's the best way to do it.
And I think it doesn't have much of an impact on Tamworth because we don't have use zoning. So
Right.
maybe other municipalities should worry, but they should be worrying anyway because the RSA is still in
Right.
place and they have exclusionary zoning sometimes.
Right, and that's what the lawyer was saying. Whatever, this isn't going to hurt you if you're not doing it, and you're supposed to be. The RSA already kicks in. The planning board actually liked having some kind of numbers to look at just for kind of the back of your mind to say, oh, well, we need this much more housing in Tamworth. What can we do in the next 20 years to promote more housing construction of some sort here in town? So.
And I do know that the planning board is looking at their subdivision rules and regs this year, so that's about the only thing they could do that could have an impact.
Yeah.
And even that isn't going to have much because there's not much to it.
Yeah.
And
it already provides for cluster development, and
So I think it's the one time where having no use regulations, no true zoning, is handy. Because we're not in violation of the RSA because that relates to percent of your residential zoning must be workforce housing. We don't have it, so we're good in that respect. Even though I think it's quite backward, it's handy in this case.
Yeah. So the other thing that really clearly came out of it is that a lot of commissioners were looking at this and saying, yes, we agree, yes, we agree, yes, we agree, we're experiencing this, we're experiencing this. How do we get developers to come to our community? And developers aren't coming to these rural communities because we don't have, wait for it, septic and water. That makes it profitable for them to develop. And we also don't necessarily have, they've got like their economy of scale, which is 100 to 200 units for a development. And if you put a 200 unit development in Tamworth, the rest of the infrastructure can't really support it. And where are the jobs? Where are people going? Where are those people working?
North Conway.
Yeah.
Market Basket was looking for 300
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Because workforce housing, for the most part, is only going to exist in where there's sewer, and it's a long way to find any sewer systems from this town.
Yeah.
Technically, ours is not a sewer system, so a lot of those they're important, but I think it has very little impact on us for the most part, because you need multi-unit housing for workforce housing, and we can't support it because we don't have sewers. And none of the towns around us could either. Maybe the nearest one is Wolf Bar or
Does North Conway
Laconia.
have a sewer system?
I think they do.
They have water district.
Yeah. They would have to because of all the development on the strip
Yeah.
and all that commercial.
But interestingly enough, this needs assessment ties into conversations we've been having about homelessness and how that's impacting Tamworth
Yeah.
and our welfare budget and our schools and, you know, whoever else. Whether we have zoning or not, it's a huge issue, and so I don't know that. I mean, obviously, we're not worried about regulation the same way some other towns are, but the heart of the need still impacts us because we don't plan proactively for it, and we're not trying to think outside the box about how to, you know, do some sort of expansion of our available housing.
Mm-hmm.
We're paying a premium in different ways to support people because we don't have adequate housing. So anyway, my task is, or Richard and our task is to just bring forward any questions or concerns that this document raised for you that you want us to get answers for, or you know, we need to vote to support this or not, and so we asked the planning board last time, we're just asking you if you have any reason why we should not vote in the affirmative to accept this document.
And what does accepting mean? Just.
Well, they weren't clear about accepting versus adopting. Honestly, I don't know. We'll find out.
It's a show of support.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Because everybody wants good housing for everybody. It's what can we do to make it better? And I can't think of much.
Yeah.
You know, according to this document, the town needs 165 new units by 2040.
This town?
That's all?
So that's, what, 8 per year or something like that? Which,
Oh, by 2040.
by 2040.
2040.
I was thinking 2030. I was like, geez, that kind of seems like quite a few.
So I'd be surprised if it happens, but I don't know, what do boom times look like in Tamworth? I don't know, because I've never seen them. I don't know if we
I
have
think this is the last like 4 or 5 years has been like the most construction
Yeah.
in Tamworth since like even before 2008. I don't think there was as much construction that there has been in the last 5 years. Like Ski and Beach hadn't had like hardly a new house in 8 or 10 years, and then in the last 5, 6 years they've had probably 12 to 15 new builds in there. I'd say at least. I mean, so
And
I
it
don't know.
says,
I know it doesn't seem like a boom time because it's such a small town, but
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
there's
a lot for a small town.
a lot of building going on for
And
Tamworth.
of those units, is that those are some percentage are supposed to be workforce affordable?
Right.
Yeah,
So the problem
that's the problem,
is,
Some
we
probably-
can't solve
no.
that it costs too much to build a house to
Right.
make it workforce
Right.
affordable.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, and there's not going to be
That's
developers
a-
coming to Tamworth because of the lack of water and sewer.
And
It's just too
but that was what people were concerned about. They're like, well, you're saying we have to do this. We have to provide our fair share for the region. But if nobody wants to come and build it, nobody wants to be in
It's
this.
not on the town to.
Like,
No.
what do we do? And nobody had an answer for that.
Yeah.
It just kind of, it seems to me like partially wishful thinking.
Yeah.
As far as the workforce housing, I mean,
It's only going to happen in densely populated areas because that's what
Yeah.
sewer is.
Yeah.
unless there was like a really huge project where they could do like their own sewer and water systems.
Yeah.
But even then, it's just so expensive to.
right, it's not
They-
workforce housing at that point.
Yeah.
No.
They did share a couple of solution-minded things, but not very many. One is that, like a lot of communities were looking toward mobile homes to be part of the solution and tiny home developments. Some communities have an affordable housing trust fund, and they build in a fee on all real estate transactions and put that into a fund toward. But bigger community, like you're supposed to have my note says each town needs an affordable housing, but I don't have the RSA that says it, but you're supposed to have an affordable housing officer that is verifying annual income of renters who are getting affordable housing. It's like,
Because I think there are a couple dozen affordable housing units in Tamworth. I didn't know that until I read that.
yeah,
I think Remick Acres and
a couple dozen units.
units.
Yeah.
There's another.
It's
development
Shakara
there.
Woods.
Shakara Woods.
Yeah.
Woods, yeah.
And yeah, right, if somebody doesn't keep track of that, who knows if that really holds true over time.
What does not accepting this mean for Tamworth? If we were to vote no on it?
I don't think it means anything for Tamworth.
So it's literally just a support vote?
It's a support vote. Yeah.
Alright.
But but we should clarify that question and say, look, this is interesting, an interesting read, but what about Tamworth? Because we're I think we're the only town in the LRPC group that doesn't have much zoning to speak of. So we can say, good luck, guys.
Right.
But okay.
So is it the 23rd or the 24th the next meeting? Either on the 24th, but I might have the wrong date.
Let me tell you.
Well, today's the 12th, our next meeting's the 19th.
23rd, Monday at the Molten Borough Library at 6 p.m.
Oh, you're that meeting,
LRPC.
sorry.
Yeah.
One track.
I was thinking that too. I was like, that doesn't make
It's a
sense.
sound.
Okay,
Alright.
Yeah.
moved it to the proper.
I probably won't be able to make the 19th, actually, now that he's bringing that up.
And Carl's not going to be here. So we should.
Okay.
We still have a quorum?
Well, we have a quorum as long as Emery and Richard are here. On the 19th, if Steve's not here.
Alright, I'm gonna
You're
move.
going to be here on the 19th?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
You're good.
Anyway. I'm gonna move on to the Tamworth Outing Club raffle application waiver of waiting period.
So, they've applied, they
Okay.
don't have the 30 days before the event that they want, so if you all would consider motioning to waiver the 30-day waiting period,
Okay.
they would be most grateful.
I make a motion to waive the 30-day 30-day waiting period for the raffle application for the Tamworth Outing Club.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Did you say yes?
Schaefer, yes?
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 4 yes. 0 no.
Why? What's the thinking behind having a 30-day waiting period before you have a raffle?
Maybe if there's 30 days.
The high level of gambling that's going to happen?
Well, no, I don't know. Maybe the
They're
thinking
old-fashioned.
was when they wrote it up, like that we want 30 days so that we can. I don't know. Think
Cool
Background
off
checks or
from the
something?
excitement? I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure. I don't.
It's a very old, I think it's,
Why is there even a raffle application?
Like-
Yeah.
I know.
That's my question.
Right.
Because
but
it's gambling, I guess. And
I
it
was
gives a
gonna say-
chance for somebody to complain about it before.
can we just
But,
can we just make a motion to approve all gambling in Tamworth? Just
oh
kidding.
my god.
We have a couple of these random little rules that are like, whoa, okay. 1954.
Yeah, but we're like 18.
Moose Plate grant acceptance for the townhouse window repair. Of
Okay.
Great
So
job, Richard.
We finally got a
Yes, we did.
grant.
Thank you.
Good job, Richard.
Yay. There is a resolution that needs to be read. Do you want to explain to everybody what the
Sure.
grant is?
I don't know if anybody other than me has a moose plate, but if they extra for the plate, all the money goes into a pot, and then a couple of different state agencies hand out grants to do good stuff with. And this is through the Historic Resources Division, and they funded I think 14 applications this year, and ours is one of them. And it's $7,200, so it's a 100% grant. Once we pass this motion and provide them with a couple of documents like our insurance certificate, then they'll give us 50% up front. We already have the contractor lined up, and she specializes in rehabbing old windows and old houses. And then when the project's done, we get our other 50%.
Awesome.
And she said she can probably start this winter. There's a 2-year performance period for the grant. And Carl and I, well, Carl's not here, so maybe just I will be meeting with Gene Chester in the next week or so to figure out, timeline.
That's great. That's going to look so good.
All right.
And it's the 6 worst windows in the townhouse. And it's $1,200 per window.
Okay. I make a motion that Keats Meyer, Town Administrator, is duly authorized to enter into contracts or agreements on behalf of the Town of Tamworth with the State of New Hampshire, acting by and through the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, and is further authorized to execute any documents on behalf of this municipality which may
B.
be in his or her judgment, desirable or necessary to effect the purpose of this resolution. That was rough.
Yeah.
I can read, I
They make
swear.
it rougher than it needs to, right?
Second, anybody?
Second. B.
Any discussion?
You did, it's true, I'm lazy.
Roll call vote.
You say yes?
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 4 yes, 0 no.
Okay, and then Kim,
And Jim and
Besides
Maureen
this.
are in the waiting room.
oh my gosh.
They've probably been there all night.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
I never look at that screen.
Jim and Maureen? They probably like texted me.
They've gone to bed and said.
And was Phil gonna zoom in as well? Phil Bennett?
I didn't hear from him.
Okay.
Jim and Maureen, my apologies. I neglected to let you in. I'm very sorry.
Is this? Do you live
Okay.
stream Ed too, or is it?
Yeah,
So they're watching
sure,
now.
they
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
Moving on.
So no.
Wait, do we need a motion? Can we just do the, so do we need a motion to accept the
The money?
Moose Plate grant? Yeah.
Yeah, I think you probably do. It's under 10,000, so we didn't have to have a public hearing.
I make a motion to accept the Moose Plate grant for the townhouse window repair in the amount of $7,200.
Second.
Roll call vote.
You say yes?
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 4 yes, 0 no. Moving on to old business. Townhouse design questions with Phil Bennett. So, for now, admit Linda Eldridge. For now, we will.
Well, I think
And there's
we're at a
something that-
decision point on the fire
Or
escape, so
chat,
that's
too,
really why I
please.
wanted to talk about.
Oh, okay.
If people had questions, Phil could have answered them if he was here, but if anybody has any, I might be able to answer, or I can convey them to Phil. He's the architect who's doing the design. So we had the warrant article last year for $28,000, which we thought was going to fix the fire escape, but then the contractor essentially took his bid back, but we still have the $28,000. So
I
we
think it's
put out a
29, but
contract to do a design. We had one respondent, and Phil Bennett is the architect. So he's got a design, and we need to tell him whether we like it and whether he should finalize it, and then whether he should put it out to bid. I
That's
asked him
gonna be
for
the tricky part, right?
right.
Yeah.
So I asked him for a cost estimate, and the cost estimate is more than I thought it was going to be. It's over $60,000.
Oof.
So
And what's it?
demo.
I just gotta
and
say one
rebuild.
thing. Keats, you've got two chats. Now I'm looking.
I got what?
Chat.
Two messages.
Zoom chat.
So can I just ask first before you
Mhm.
tell about that? The 29,000. How much of that have we spent already on what we've done so far?
The contract with the architect is $14,000.
Okay.
I think it's 14, 12 or 14.
And is that all we've had to
14.
spend so far?
And we haven't spent it all, but that's the most we will spend, yes.
Okay.
Because that's what the contract demands.
Okay.
And
I
that
mean
contract,
on the whole fire escape so far.
Right.
Yeah.
and the contract includes not only the final design, but then bidding it, construction documents and bidding it out. So
Yeah.
he's not done.
Yeah.
So we have at least, at first I thought it was 2, now I realize it's 3 options. One is we forge ahead and put it out to bid and see what happens. Well, then there's going to be a big expense, and then we probably use up most or all of our ARPA money to pay for it.
Yeah.
Or we take that cost estimate and say, you know what, let's go back to town meeting and get the townspeople to raise the money and then bid it out next year.
Mm-hmm.
The third option is use what's remaining of the $28,000 to make repairs and finalize the design and put it on the shelf. And maybe at some point in the future, we'll build a new fire escape.
Okay, so this has been going on for 1,000 years, and my brain doesn't retain
Mm-hmm.
things I'm not involved in
Yeah.
1,000 years ago. I thought we were starting this whole process saying, let's go fix that stuff.
Yep.
And then we found what? Why did we go this next route? Just as a refresher for me.
Yep.
I thought there was like stuff out of code or.
Nope, it's not a code issue.
Okay.
Nothing's out of code.
Okay.
We found some rot, made
Mhm.
some repairs, and then we started talking about, okay, at some point we probably should replace the darn thing. And we did get one bid to do a steel replacement,
Right.
and then
Right.
we had one bid to do wood replacement. But then I think the contractor realized then how that he couldn't do it for that. So Carl told me he declined to agree to that.
What was that bid? Do you remember?
That was 28,000. That's why it's in the warrant
So the
article for
wood
28,000.
replacement was 28,000.
Right.
Then.
The steel was 45,000, but it did not include demo, I don't think, and it did not include the concrete pad. So
That's
that
right. Yeah.
45,000 was more like 55,000.
Right. Now that's all coming back to me. Right. Okay.
So then we talked about it here, and there was a suggestion made by members of the public that, hey, you probably should develop some plans,
Right.
and then you really know what you're getting.
You
To
get
so
it apples to
develop
apples
a set of
bid.
plans
Yeah,
to make sure that the thing is built right, it's attached to the building right, et cetera, et cetera. So it came from some input from the public that we decided, okay, let's use some of the money that was really intended for the construction at town meeting to do the plans. So the plan is almost finalized, but then I said, Philly, what's the cost estimate? So he ran it through his software, and it's over $60,000.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, I question whether we should do it. It's
Does
over
that include
60.
demo?
It does include demo, thankfully.
so, or maybe not do.
And
I think it needs to be maybe done, but maybe not. With looking at the budget and stuff, maybe it's not doable
Not
this
this
year.
Well, and if you spent the remaining 14,000 on fixing it, would you have a pretty good
how many?
5 to 10 year fix?
I would hope so. I think if you had new posts, replace all the treads with fresh treated treads, replace the upper landing, and take the trim boards off and look for rot and fix the rot. I mean,
Because the roof isn't really an issue at this point.
no.
And
The
that's
stringers
probably
are in good shape.
the trickiest part.
As far as yes, they're quite beefy.
I would think.
I poked at them with my pocket knife, and they seem fine. That's my highly
Calibrated.
Sophisticated.
So, how many extra years could you get out of it if you spent $14,000? I have no idea. Because you don't really know how much rot you have until you start prying off some of the clapboards.
Right.
The other thing we could do is try to get 3 builders to give us proposals on fixing it
Yeah.
temporarily.
Yeah.
But
I think we need to have a signed contract by the end of the year to use that $14,000.
One way or another. Otherwise, the money just goes back into the unassigned fund balance.
or we
And this
14
construction's outside Rick's wheelhouse.
for the full construction, I would say yes.
Okay.
But to fix it?
I mean, I'm not saying
Depends
yes,
on how
I
much
just think-
fixing there is.
I think it's a job for more than one person.
Yeah.
Oh, I
I
see,
think
yeah.
it's a 3 or 4
Yeah.
man crew job. I mean, I think it'd be a really tough job for one person.
Okay.
And I don't know much about building, just being around the stuff that I've seen.
Yeah.
So either we
Yeah.
forge ahead and use the ARPA money and replace it, or we go to town meeting and raise $60,000. It would be $50,000
To
at town
increase the
meeting.
budget.
Or we use the money we have and get some more years out of it, and have Phil finish the design,
Yeah.
but don't bid it out.
Yeah.
Just put it on the shelf, and maybe next year we cut it out, or
Yeah.
5 years from now when we we got to replace
And
it.
maybe we can buy some time to look for historic building grants.
Mm-hmm.
And would you have him do construction documents or stop at the schematic?
I don't know. Whatever's in the contract. I think it's construction documents.
So-
I think that's what's in the.
We would have to buy because you couldn't cut back and save more money for repair.
Hmm.
It's worth asking.
Yeah.
Because we don't need construction documents if,
But
Yeah.
if that's part of the contract already, then we've already contracted.
Well, right. It is part of the contract, but I'm sure we could tell them, hey, stop just shy of
usually
bidding
you're
it out.
phasing, you can,
Mm-hmm. Well,
worth
my
asking.
my impulse is we do not spend $60,000 this year or add it to the warrant.
If it was
It would be.
like a main entryway, then maybe I'd go along. But it's a fire escape that you hope you never use.
It'd
I'd
be
rather
46.
fix it.
46. Well, no, it would probably be 50 because you said we have 14,000 left.
Yeah.
So it'd probably be around 50, maybe.
Yep.
That we'd have to raise.
Yep.
Yeah. And talking about ARPA money, that's another potential, like, what else in
Yeah.
the existing budget?
There's probably 50 things in there we could use the ARPA money.
Yeah, so,
So I guess my proposal would be, have Phil finalize the design. The existing design is good.
yep,
The stairways are less steep because instead of one run, it's one and a landing and a turn
Right.
back, and it's wider.
Yeah.
So overall, it's better.
yep,
But I don't. Looking at the budget, it looks a little scary to be spending $60,000 on a fire escape. And at the same time, get bids to repair the rot and replace the treads and the posts.
mm-hmm,
And maybe Rick can pursue
He
estimates.
could probably, yeah, maybe he could be in charge of, finding 3 people with recommendations maybe of local people,
Mhm.
okay.
possibly.
So that, I'll make that a motion. We have the architect finalize the design for the fire escape for future use. And we ask Rick Moreau to seek bids to repair the rot.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Do you say yes?
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 4 yes. 0 no.
Thanks for doing all that work
Yeah,
on that,
thank you.
Richard. That's been a long process.
On
I've never seen 2 townhouse items on the agenda before.
on to the administrator report.
The bank balance is $3,028,882. I have been working on the budget. I've been meeting with Sue. Emily's been training her to take on the assessing clerk role.
She's in how many times a week?
She's just coming in once a week until the beginning of November, which is good because it's a lot to absorb. So Emily's sort of giving her discrete.
Yeah.
Yesterday was deep day, so yeah, work keeps chugging along. It's primarily looking at contracts, budgets, numbers. I'm a little number dizzy.
Where are we with welfare administrator? Is Kath holding a hard line to,
Yeah, it's time to post.
okay,
Yeah,
so next week should we talk about what that looks like?
sure. I have a job description, I think. Which
Maybe-
I can
But I get the sense from having worked with Kath a lot this year that maybe that job description needs to get tweaked.
send you. Okay, so
Maybe have her-
why don't Kath and I take a stab at it and then
Yeah.
we can send it over to you.
Okay. Man, she has been fantastic.
She's amazing, and
Very
what I
lucky.
think isn't obvious when you just look at the amount of money that was spent is how much money
She's saved.
she saved by reaching out to so many resources and helping
Yeah.
so many people. The trick now is to keep people in whatever housing they've got, because the minute you step out,
You're screwed.
Yeah.
there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, I mean, it's campsites.
Is the wait for Remick acre units still at like 3 years?
I don't know what the wait is. I've never so far seen one open up, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's tough.
Okay. Yeah, it's-
Moving on to the signature file. I make a motion to approve the select board meeting minutes for October 5th, 2023.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Do you say yes?
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 4 yes, 0 no. I make a motion to approve the non-public meeting minutes for October 5th, 2023 under RSA 91-A:32A.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Do you say yes?
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 4 yes, 0 no. We did that. I make a motion. No, we didn't.
You waived the
Yeah, we didn't-
period,
we
but
didn't
I
do
would
that,
approve
yeah.
the raffle permit.
I make a motion to approve the raffle permit for the Tamworth Outing Club on 10/24/23.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Do you say yes?
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 4 yes, 0 no. I make a motion to approve the MS1 summary inventory of valuation for 2023 as presented by Rod Wood.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Do you say yes?
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 4 yes, 0 no. I make a motion to approve the MS 535 financial report of the budget for 2023 as presented by Plodzik.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Did you say yes?
Schaefer, yes?
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 4 yes, 0 no.
And we already motioned that.
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah.
I make a motion to approve the payroll in the amount of $46,008.70.
Second.
Roll call vote.
You say yes?
Schaefer, yes?
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 4 yes, 0 no. Why is that high again this week?
Fire department,
Again? Wasn't that what it was last time?
was it last week?
Yeah,
No,
that's what I
it had
was
to be 2 weeks ago, but usually it's once a month.
Okay.
It's not in there. Do you want it?
Oh yeah, I'm looking at nothing here. I was just curious. I don't know why.
Is there a little sticky in there?
I mean,
No, this is just for payroll.
I
Because
have
normally it was like 30
timesheets.
something. No, normally it was
yeah, normally it's a once a month.
and normally like the payroll's generally in the 30.
32 to 5, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I make a motion to approve the accounts payable in the amount of $3,863.42.
Second.
Roll call vote.
You say yes?
Schaefer, yes?
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 4 yes, 0 no. At least that's nice and low.
That's tiny.
That was school payment.
It's off cycle.
Yeah.
It's just a few.
Yeah.
That's tiny.
We'll take it. Cash used to date is $9,006,208.04. Select board update starting with Richard.
Let's see. I had a Conservation Commission meeting yesterday, day before, sometime this week.
You can have this.
Nothing exciting to report on. Yeah, it was Monday. Had a good conversation today, Steve and I and Willie, with Sanborn Head, the designer working on the transfer station improvements. Their task was to find ways to cut lots of money. So they're still working on the numbers, but they have different options that we could look at. And there certainly are ways to, a lot of the money was moving dirt, and if you just don't move the dirt so the building's a little higher, or don't have such a change between the bottom floor, you get it around the back and the top floor, you save a lot of money real fast. And you make the building a little smaller. It still doesn't get it down to the money we have, but it's still cut $600,000.
What's the
Wow.
purpose of moving the dirt in the first place?
Good question.
Just out of curiosity.
Well, I'm not sure that the design had a lot of earth moving, and you assume that you had to do it. Well, you don't really. You could make the whole building just higher on the landscape. It does make the egress, steeper, perhaps if you. So maybe they're trying to get it.
I think the loading
flatter.
dock for the storage bales coming out was one of the things they talked about, because they were going to have a pretty steep
Yeah.
ramp now if we don't move as much earth.
Yeah.
But still workable.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so the cost on paper, because it's all so conceptual, really. It all still has 15% contingencies on everything in sight, and the price went from $2.4 million down to 1.8, I think.
That's
So that was nice. It was getting in the right direction.
Good.
The next option was take the existing building, don't build a new building, add on to it, and then add some kind of inexpensive structure next to that. Their first idea was a pole barn type thing. And I think we pretty much shot that down, because any building that doesn't have a concrete floor and walls, I think it's just a waste of money. I don't know what it's good for. So I think my suggestion was skip that, just make the addition to the building bigger. So there's workspace, there's a washroom, there's a bathroom, and you don't have to leave everything outside, which is pretty much what they have to do. So they're still working on that and coming back with some more ideas, so that we have options to choose from, so that by next year we can we can build something by next year that at least has a bathroom and a wash station, so we can meet our OSHA requirements. And the smaller building they looked at, it was it did remove the horizontal baler, which takes up a lot of floor space, but you still had a vertical baler, which I think we probably just want to get the vertical baler anyway because it's so much cheaper. A vertical baler I think is $17,000. A horizontal is $125 or something.
What's the benefit to the horizontal?
I think
is there different bales? Are they more valuable if
it's much easier to load and unload, so it's easier to work. But it takes up a lot of floor space and costs a lot of money. So I never really thought we were going to ever get one anyway, unless we could find someone else to pay for it.
I think you can get a tighter compaction on a horizontal baler, and you can get bigger bales. I think is what we were talking.
There was some obvious benefits, but if you don't have the money, $100,000 lying around, you just
Right.
can't buy it.
I just remember that when Carl and I went to Ossipee, they have both.
Yep.
And they were getting rid of the vertical ones.
Yeah.
And I can't remember.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because it's whatever.
Vertical ones they're not. Nobody wants them, but they're a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
But if we went for this smaller building, there'd only be room for the vertical.
Yeah.
Not a
Well,
horizontal.
there you go.
And it's better than no bale.
Yeah.
Because the only way you can recycle paper and plastic is with a bale.
Maybe we can buy Ossipees.
There you go.
I hadn't thought of that.
Right past this whole
Yeah, give it
Um,
to Steve. Yeah,
So we still have, a few weeks worth of work to figure out what we can afford, so we can get to build something next year. And I think we have a TSIC meeting, Transfer Station Improvement Committee meeting on Monday.
I believe that's correct.
Oh, and hazardous waste collection was last Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
And the unofficial numbers were really good. 170 people came,
Oh, wow.
and most of them were from Tamworth.
That's great.
And when the LRPC gets the numbers together, then we'll have official numbers, but that's the unofficial numbers. So that's all.
I attended an EDC meeting on Tuesday. It's a pivotal point for the EDC, with the members continuing to drop and direction being a little bit cloudy, I would say. They're looking for direction, looking for public input to see what the town of Tamworth wants to do for economic development. We did have some people in, we had some good discussion about different things that we could do with targeting different businesses and trying to support those folks. But Wyatt, the chair, is planning on sending out a mailer to all the Tamworth residents and businesses to try to get some people to show up, and taking a break off of the November and December meetings to give some bandwidth for that, since we're just going to basically be getting together to talk about what are we going to do.
Yeah.
So we'll be meeting again in January, I think the 9th. And by that time, Pat expects to be fully out of Tamworth, so her commitment as alternate will be up, so she resigned that Tuesday night. Tuesday I also attended a ZBA meeting, I guess technically not as a board member, but I was there regardless.
It might be the first ZBA meeting in ages.
Yep.
Well, now they're quarterly. It was the second in.
No, it's
Okay.
Yeah.
What happens at one of those?
If you don't come, I can't tell you. It's very hush-hush.
They handle appeals on
Yes.
certain planning boards.
Which is why having a select board
select board.
member on the committee is problematic, so I was just in the audience. But they were talking about paperwork and trying to get their groundwater protection ordinances all set, looking at current appeal paperwork, working on their budget, and made a subcommittee to be able to come up with some of the forms that they need. So,
I think by statute you can have no more than one planning board member on the ZBA and one select board member.
No, you can't have either.
I
Can't
thought
have
you could
You
have.
can't have either because they're adjudicating.
Understood.
Our
Yeah.
That's why I was always
But we
surprised you could have one of both,
Yeah.
so I need to look back at that.
But you can sit in the audience.
but I could sit in the
Yeah.
audience as a member of the public, so I made it clear
That's
that that's
my
what I was
understanding. I
there.
could be
There was
wrong.
no one else besides me in the audience, but
I mean, you're going just to report back so
Exactly.
we know what's going on
Yep.
in town. Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah. Just an observation. I think it's, like through work and through select board work, deal with a lot of different nonprofits, and volunteerism is really down. People are
You're saying that volunteerism is really down.
really down, and so it's hard to find people to to fill board seats and to be in compliance with regulations around governance. And the bringing up the EDC plight just makes me think that I have 2 LRPC meetings a month. I have 1 or 2 planning board meetings a month. I have one of these meetings every week, all because of my role as select board. And I happen to like the work, and I happen to kind of have time that I can squeeze into it. But I think it's very daunting to people, and we see this when we have town elections that are like year after year after year not uncontested. Because you can only get a few people who have the time or bandwidth or whatever to contribute. So the EDC group might look at one thing that nonprofits are starting to do is you get the minimum number of board members for compliance as a nonprofit, which is in New Hampshire it's 5, unrelated by birth or marriage. But instead of asking people to be on boards or committees that have to meet once a whatever, you say, hey, we need you for this thing. So you have your whatever day, and you get a group to come in so they know that they're going to commit a bunch of time and expertise for 4 months. And then they can step away. And then you bring in the next group who's got a different skill set or different energy.
Interesting.
I just think it's hard to get people to commit to monthly meetings and
Sure.
to do all of the work of an agency right now.
And a lot of the conversation was focused around that and the kind of amorphous future of if we're not working towards some really cool thing that the town's interested in, why are you going to sign up to be part of, I don't know whatever we come up with to do.
Right.
So we're hoping to come up with something.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
Because the economic developments, they've done a lot of cool
Absolutely.
things. So.
And just to play devil's advocate,
Yeah.
there's a lot of nonprofits in the town. Maybe EDC is maybe it's not playing a role that people feel passionate about.
And the projects and the things that they did, it changed a lot with COVID, and so talking about what the landscape and what the need of the town is, hence the flyers and asking for people to
Right.
weigh in on what things they would like. And one of the guests was a campground owner, and she said, I never got any one of the flyers, I never got any communication when she was owning the campground, so there's obviously some gaps in how that's rolling out, and maybe that's an area that we could solve the problem easily on and get some more business interest.
So is it sort of like a little chamber of commerce kind of thing? I mean, what kind of it? Yeah.
Yeah, and again, that's also part of the problem is
What is it?
what is it, and,
Yeah.
and one person has all that drive, and that person's no longer going to be on the committee. So,
So I went to a planning board meeting last night, as I said. We God, I'm spent this part of the night. Subdivision regulations they've been reviewed by legal, we've had a bunch of work sessions, they are now, we just last night agreed to hire a woman from Conway to do all the formatting, because the formatting's a mess. So that should be back for a final hearing, and the hearing for that is, I think November 9th, November 8th, Wednesday, November 8th at 6 p.m. I don't know where it is, I think it's in here.
That's a public hearing here.
Public hearing to give public input, questions as we adopt the subdivision regs updates. So we just did that. We had a meeting, Keats and I were on a call with legal this week about the personnel, and Linda Eldridge, who's on the personnel committee, about the personnel committee, just so they knew like what our intent was with the changes, so they can look at it through the right lens. And we're hoping to get a redlined copy back from legal by the end of the month, so that we can have another work session looking at Anna and Hannah's comments. Hannah was is working in the office with Anna. so that we can, if there is going to be a budget impact, we'll have it in hand in time to be part of this process. So, and we were supposed to have a LRPC executive board meeting Wednesday that got canceled. So that was one meeting I didn't have to go to.
Nice.
Yeah. And my sheep were out all weekend.
I tried.
I know you helped. Thank you.
No update for me. Just been busy working, and I'm getting married on Saturday.
Oh! Congratulations!
Yeah,
That's
finally,
awesome.
after supposed to be doing it for 2 years.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Big family celebration? Or?
Yeah, pretty much. In a
Nice.
So
field.
what are we crashing and where?
If you can find us, you did very good.
Okay.
It's all the way up in North Chatham, up near Evans Notch. So
Oh,
So you're already narrowing it down for me.
That's beautiful.
good luck.
Get the drone out, we'll find you.
That maybe we're in an open area.
Oh, that's
wonderful.
beautiful. Beautiful neck
Been
of the
busy with
woods.
that.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, fair enough. That's great.
Awesome. Is there any public input? Yes.
The county tax apportionment was issued today at the county, so it is
Mailing
available.
Saturday, yeah. Thank you. It's on the website?
It may be. I could email. I have a copy of it home.
Oh, please do. She's going to mail it on Saturday, so I figured I'd get it in a few days, but love to see it. Up, down?
Oh.
Of course.
Oh boy.
Any other public input?
Jim and Maureen, you're muted.
Thank you. I have a couple questions based on last week's minutes. It mentioned some attachments that I don't really see. One was supposed to be the CCCD, and that one I can't find. The other CIP one, I know where to look for it. So I'm
Maureen,
interested.
I'll upload them. I put them in the minutes book, but I need to upload them on the website.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then something that I think Charlie mentioned tonight, if I heard correctly, and I apologize because the audio on, thank you very much for doing what you do, Ed, but the live audio streaming was not, it has a lot of static and stuff. Anyhow, I think I heard Charlie say that he does water testing for the Conservation Commission, and I wondered if we have any access to that, or, I'd be interested in knowing, if there was any water quality on Mill Creek, Mill Brook, for example. What is it like for Jackman Pond? So,
Green Mountain Conservation Group does the testing for the Conservation Commission, and I'm sure you could get the data through them. They've been, and they definitely, I shouldn't say definitely, but I'm fairly certain that Millbrook is one of their sites. I don't think they do Jackman Pond, but they do the Bear Camp River right down by us, and they have for years. So they've been collecting data. I don't know if they post it on their website, but
Well, we might also, Nelson may store it here as well. I'm not
Okay,
sure.
yeah.
We can email Nelson too, Maureen.
okay, that's fabulous. Thank you.
Can I address Maureen? Maureen, this is Ed.
Hi.
Hi. Did you, if that happens again, refresh the page? Because sometimes that's what happens with the stream. That's what happened last time too.
I don't think we did any refreshing tonight, and I should have thought of that because you helped us at the Forest Service meeting with that same technique. So sorry.
Yeah, the upload speeds here are not good. Hopefully when they improve, we'll get a better signal to you. Thank you.
Well, the downloads here aren't very good either.
Thank you very much.
Oh, make sure you do your speed test.
Oh, yeah.
oh, that's right. Yeah. Anybody else?
Is there any other public input? Hearing no more public input, motion to adjourn
At 7:54.
at 7:54.
Signature